Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does, and great to have you with us all across America and Canada. Hello to our friends north of the border, however you may be watching, whether it's on the YouTube channel, listening to us on the podcast. There's so many ways to consume this show. We appreciate you being with us. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. We will be joined by David Aardsma because SportsWrap goes inside baseball every Wednesday. Number of topics I want to get to with him. Our friend Bill Bender drops by the show from the Sporting News. Does a great job on college basketball and college football. Get thoughts with him on the Brendan Sorsby situation playing out with Texas Tech, the NCAA, the courts, blah, 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 blah. We'll get to all that coming up a little later on in the show. There is also the NBA Finals to get into. Game 4 tonight, Madison Square Garden in New York, Knicks and Spurs. Knicks lead that series 2-1. The Hurricanes, resilient. They get up off the mat. After a tough loss in Game 3, they bounced back in Game 4. They just looked like the more aggressive team. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights in Las Vegas to even that series up at 2 games apiece on what has been a thoroughly entertaining series thus far. So we'll talk about that coming up a little later on. Odds and ends, all of that good stuff. But we start things out, as we always do on this Wednesday edition of the show, with the big story. And a bit of a different big story today. I didn't talk about this much at all on the show yesterday, but I do want to talk about it a bit today in the larger context of what's going on at ESPN. But first, let me tell you about the Daily Wrap. If you have not done so yet, subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page newsletter. We call it the Daily Wrap. It's available Monday through Friday. It highlights what we talked about on the show. If there's a day where you can't watch the show, you can go get the newsletter. But of course you're going to watch the show or listen to it on the podcast. But if you can't, check out the Daily Wrap newsletter on Substack. Scan the QR code below and go and get that for yourself. All right. There's a lot of talk in the media these days about the fall of a once great network. What's going on at CBS, right? Stephen Colbert, The Late Show, the end of late night television there, with them pulling that show off the air. A lot of conversation around CBS News, what Barry Weiss has done there. If you don't know about Barry Weiss, go and look up Barry Weiss and what she's done in what a lot of people feel is systematically dismantling the reputation and everything that was good about CBS News. 60 Minutes, Scott Pelley gets fired, Anderson Cooper leaves, a bunch of producers, executives from the show are let go. A lot of conversation around that story in recent weeks and what is perceived as the fall of CBS. But I think there's another story that people are missing. And maybe because it's germane to sports, and we don't take it as seriously. But I think there's another story that's taking place that we need to start talking about. And that is the collapse of ESPN as a once proud media institution. Yeah, they've got games on. And I'll always tune in to watch the games. And there are some personalities there that I still find myself tuning in to watch. A Dan Orlovsky, I've really come to appreciate. Jason Williams, Jay Williams, former Duke Blue Devil, who briefly played in the NBA. Scott Van Pelt, who I think is the shining star, the North Star now, of that network. With the Late Night Sports Center. Glad to hear he's going to be staying on in that capacity. But you watch everything around that, and it is the collapse of a once proud network. It's all about who's promoting what. It's all about, and it's not even promoting stuff that's for the sake of the audience. It's gratuitous. It's about trying to drive profits up. It's not about trying to make the sports viewing experience better. Case in point the other night, where they took ESPN and put on an alt cast of Pat McAfee, who wouldn't know basketball if it hit him off his thick skull, and put him on an alt cast with his crew from the Pat McAfee show. By the way, go give him $60 million a year. Your company deserves to go out of business and be bankrupt if you're making stupid moves like that. But anyway, I digress. I'll get back to McAfee in a second. It's promoting the WWE Network and having wrestlers coming in and talking about sports. It's mixing the fake with the real. And then you have this back and forth between Stephen A. Smith and Donald Trump. And this just takes the cake for me. This is what ESPN has become. Donald Trump going after Stephen A. Smith, and frankly, Stephen A. Smith said something stupid. And for me to take the side of Donald Trump on anything is a rare day in the history of media. But you have Stephen A. Smith literally blaming Donald Trump for the Knicks' loss, which might be the most... I don't want to use the word stupid. My mom gets mad at my dad when he uses the word stupid, because there's better words to use. It's the most uneducated, uninformed opinion that I've heard in sports talk in a long time. I don't want to say ever because we don't do hyperbole. Blaming the president, a guy sitting in the stands, for what's happening in a game. You want to talk about maybe jitters at the start of a game or something like that. The Knicks had every chance to win this game late, and they couldn't. And the Spurs were the better team. We can talk about officiating and what should have maybe been a technical on Wembanyama, all that stuff. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. And Stephen A. Smith saying that is one of the dumbest takes in the history of First Take. Trump responds, and now they're going back and forth. And Stephen A. Smith is saying, watch my other shows so you can see what I really want to say about Donald Trump. Then he wants to debate Donald Trump. Why are we giving this oxygen, ESPN? It's just the latest example of the downfall of this once proud network. Donald Trump and Stephen A. Smith. And then this mess at Madison Square Garden on ESPN the other night. Pat McAfee in an alt cast. Because I need Pat McAfee's opinion on the NBA Finals? I need him doing play-by-play? Granted, I didn't have to watch it. Nobody else had to watch it. I don't know what the ratings were like. This is an example of the downfall of ESPN. And again, people may still watch ESPN. There's an old saying, people don't know what they like what they know. ESPN's that spot. It's the safe place to go. Doesn't mean it's the best thing on television like it used to be, though. We're coming back. Welcome back to the program. David Ardsma coming up in 10 minutes, former big league reliever and closer, our MLB analyst. Thoughts with him. Full disclosure, he and I had to tape the conversation late on Tuesday night because he's traveling on this Wednesday. So, just in case, making sure you know, I might even look a little different because, long story, I had to wear makeup yesterday because I was doing a bunch of TV appearances in New York and TV appearance for National News Network. So I was wearing makeup yesterday. I'm not wearing makeup today, as you can see how my forehead is shiny. Because who wants to put on makeup every day? This is what I look like. This is it. This is all I got to work with. Anyway, David Ardsma talks baseball with SportsWrap, goes inside baseball every Wednesday here on the show. Also still to come, our friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News on the Brendan Sorsby situation, the latest and what's going on there. Let's talk about the Stanley Cup final, which has been thoroughly entertaining. The Golden Knights and Hurricanes have put on one hell of a show through 4 games. Series even up at 2 games apiece. I wouldn't be shocked if it went 7. The twists and turns, the back and forths of this series have been fantastic. You know, last night you had the Hurricanes getting out to a 2-0 lead. They're up 3-1. Eventually, the Golden Knights were able to tie the game with 2 in the second period. They go all the way with this game. They go all the way until late stages of the third period. And you have Jordan Staal doing his best Bobby Orr, jumping through the sky like Superman, falling to the ice. and backhanding a goal past Carter Hart, who has not been good in this series. You know, I mean, Frederick Anderson didn't start this game. It was Brandon Bussey that got the start. And I mean, he may get the start next game too, as well as he's played in this series since coming in game 3 and giving the Canes a chance to win that game before they fell in overtime. But, I mean, I don't know what the options are for John Tortorella. He's stuck with Carter Hart this long, but Carter Hart has not been good in this series. There's just no getting around it. And Staal has been terrific. Last night, the latest example, I think he's the leading scorer in this series for both teams. Maybe better. I don't know. Maybe Mitch Marner is more. I'm not sure. But Staal's been fantastic. On his way potentially to a Conn Smythe with the way he's playing if the Hurricanes should win this Stanley Cup. His goal last night, the game winner. And it'll be interesting to see what Rob Brindamore decides to do in Game 5 back in Raleigh. There will be a Game 6 in Vegas for sure. I think it goes 7. We can only be so lucky. That leads us to the Knicks and the Spurs. And Game 4 tonight at Madison Square Garden, where I think you're going to get a more relaxed Knicks team. I think you're going to get a more ready, focused, less shell-shocked version of the Knicks. Because as much as everybody wants to talk about experience and what the Spurs know and what they don't know and they're learning as they go, as I said, you can literally watch the computer process if you watch them game to game. You could see the CPU working in their brains as they work their way through these first-time experiences. And you think about the road they've had to travel to get to where they are. You know, they've got 100 games under their belt. So watching these two teams go back and forth and watching the Spurs learn on the fly has been fascinating to watch. And I think it may forever change. If they do win this NBA title, which I don't think they're going to, I think they lose in 6. But I think it changes forever the way we view young teams and how quickly they can or can't develop throughout the season. Because there were a lot of people that thought the Spurs were a year away. Well, they're here now. And they have been fantastic. But I think Game 3 was simply too much for the Knicks. On top of the fact that the Spurs had a better game plan and executed that game plan for 48 minutes, or at least 36 of the 48 minutes. I thought in the second quarter they got flat, and the Knicks were able to do some things. They got off their game, but then they came back out in the third quarter and got right back at it and took a lead going to the fourth. They wind up winning the game. They've been great in the first quarter. They've been great in the third quarter. They've struggled in the second quarter. I don't know why. One of those things we'll be dissecting after the season ends, or they certainly will in San Antonio one way or the other. But as you watch the Knicks, in that game, it was simply too much. It was overwhelming. Every seat at courtside filled by a celebrity. The president sitting in a box. All of the expectations and hopes and dreams of a fan base that's waited 53 years for a championship, waited 27 years for even a trip to the finals again, and gone through all these horrible things that this franchise has endured, self-inflicted as they may have been. I think tonight, the rhythm of this thing gets back to somewhat normal, as close to normal as you can find in an NBA Finals situation. I am 100% going to be watching the officiating in this game. Watch the first quarter. If they let these two teams bang the way they did in the first 3 games of the series, which unfortunately I think they're going to, I think it favors the San Antonio Spurs. I don't think you could have another situation like Game 3 where you have the foul disparity, 24 free throws to 8 in the second half, and the Knicks expect to win. I think there has to be some sort of reckoning as it relates to the officiating we've seen through the first 3 games of this series. And again, I don't think that's going to happen, which means this thing goes down to the wire again, because that kind of banging, that kind of physicality is going to favor the youth of the San Antonio Spurs and the way they want to play. I think it's going to be, I think the total tonight is like 216. I'll take the under. I think it goes under, or 226, whatever it is. I'll take the under tonight between these two teams. I think 1.5 was the line at last check. Let's see if we can pull it up real fast here before the end of the segment, before I run out of time. It's 2.5. So it's jumped back up. It was 1.5. It's jumped back up to 2.5. Knicks minus 2.5. Sam Yarnell predicted that would happen, so kudos to him. 216.5 the total. I like the under, because I think it's going to remain a physical game. Watch the officiating, though. It's going to be very important. We're back with David Aardsma. Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of the show. What do we do every Wednesday on SportsWrap? We go inside baseball with this guy, one and only, the DA53 on X. Former Major League Baseball reliever and closer David Aardsma, our SportsWrap baseball analyst, hangs out with us. So I got a few things, I got a few problems with you people. So I got a few things I want to run through with you on the show this week. Let's begin. I'm curious, I saw Braden Montgomery got brought up Tuesday night, one of the top prospects over in the White Sox organization. I did not realize the insane number of first-time major leaguers they have on, what's it, a 25-man roster? And they've got 26. They've got 12 guys that have made their MLB debut with the White Sox this year.
Is David that current?
Aardsma. That's, I don't know.
That is insane.
Yeah, 12. Tonight is the 12th guy. Tuesday night was the 12th guy they brought up in Braden Montgomery, who had an RBI single, by the way, against the Braves in his debut. Welcome to the show, kid. So I am curious. I don't know if you've ever been on a team that brought up that many first-time big leaguers, but just from the perspective of being on a roster that is infused with that kind of talent, give me a sense for what that dynamic does, how it changes, how it morphs when you're just bringing up kid after kid.
I've never seen that. I've never been on a roster that was even remotely close to this. I've been on some that had a few guys. My first roster with the San Francisco Giants, I was the only rookie, the only guy. And so it was completely the opposite of this. So I've had a lot more experience on the other side, being the young guy. But the dynamic of this, which is really weird, is as a veteran, usually veterans come in and rookie comes up, and you have an opportunity to show them kind of the way to do things, how to be a professional, how to travel, how to treat clubbies, how to treat media. There's a lot of things to learn, and you learn over time. When you have this many rookies, like there isn't. I mean, what are you gonna do with the veterans? I mean, there aren't any veterans. Like Benintendi, okay,
you're outnumbered. The veterans are almost outnumbered.
Like what happens is guys that aren't veterans become veterans very quickly. Guys that are like 2 years in, they're the veteran, right? Like Tyler Gilbert's got a couple years in. They only have like 4 guys over like 5 years of service time. So what happens is either you have a great roster of players that are young and they're taught the right way, and then the veterans do get to have their voice and lead them, and the 4 veterans you have get to lead them. Or the other way is it becomes a complete mess, and it's all rookies that are running the show, and there's no one's listening. I think knowing Chris Getz and knowing that development system, I think they're doing it the right way. I think they're bringing up men the correct way. And you don't need a whole ton of veteran presence to lead that, but I'd like a little bit more.
I'm waving my magic pen here, which means I want to interject here. Being the only rookie on a roster, the complete antithesis.
Yeah.
How torturous is that? How bad are you getting it?
That was very tough. I was getting it from all ends, from every single side. The problem is, like, I would get guys, I had a whole lot of guys on that team that were that middle level, and that middle level tends to try to show you that they're the boss, they're the veteran, and they get to tell you what to do because they always were told what to do. And I got like half the team told me to do one thing, the other half told me to do something different. Both sides told me to tell the other side to screw themselves. So I didn't know what to think for myself. I didn't know what to do. Plus, I was on a team. I think a couple of especially some of the veteran relievers, thought I was taking another guy's job, and they weren't happy initially, and they didn't know what to think. So I was just drafted. It was a absolute mess. And I'll be honest, like I've become very close to a lot of those guys now. Then I wasn't talked to a whole lot, or like I didn't get treated to dinners. I didn't get treated out. I didn't get the rookie treatment. It took the next year with the Cubs to get all those rookie treatment things where you get really taught. And Greg Maddux was a lot to do with that. Dempster, Omen.
Well, why hasn't Maddox been on the show with us yet? I mean, if you're tight with him, let's go. What are we waiting for? Does he live in Scottsdale? Let's go.
I'm pretty sure it's a Vegas thing. Yeah, he's a little closer to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. We're at 65, 66 games into this season, to go back to the White Sox for a second. They have the second wild card spot because the AL is hot garbage. I mean, it is. There's no getting around it. Yeah, there's only like 5 teams with positive run differentials in the entire American League, which is just wild. The White Sox are
one of them.
Huh?
They're one of them.
Yeah, and they're one of them at +8 on the season. So I mean, at what point does this start to become real, and that young, gregarious group where it's just kind of, hey, we're just out there having fun and whatever happens, happens. At what point does it start to settle in that, oh, we're in this thing and we've got a chance to compete? And how does that potentially change sort of the mental mindset in a locker room?
This becomes a very interesting question for Getz in that front office of when do you try to trade for some veteran guys that know how to be in this situation, know how to play 162. Not many, you're just talking about 12 guys. 12 guys have no idea how to play 162 games. They've never done it, and then go into playoffs. That's what veterans are. That's why they are paid the money, and that's why there's certain guys that get traded all the time around this time. And then who do you pick out of those 12? What are those rookies? And does that change the dynamic? It becomes a really tough question. I 100% with the way that division's playing, I would take the young team with the fresh energy, the excitement, over some of these other teams that just look blah, and just like don't really come to the table with a whole lot every single day. So I would take this team, but you have to find at least some bench guys that are veterans that can go in there and be like, all right, like a Johnny Gomes type. That's why Johnny Gomes played for how long he did. A Mike Sweeney type that just get plugged and played into winning teams, and they continue winning.
I just wonder how many sellers there's going to be, because in that American League, you can go all the way down to, Boston at 27 and 38. They're only 5 out of a wild card spot. I can't envision them being, massive sellers. And in the National League, it's the same thing, all the way down to, the Mets are 5 out of a wild card spot at 29. I just don't see a ton of sellers, at least right this second.
Yes, at least, I mean, the Giants are going to get really interesting. They're 27 and 40. I know they've started to hit a little bit, but they're 27 40, and they have a lot of players on that roster that I don't think they want to keep that money around, and so that's going to be the interesting one.
Yeah, it is. And another curious thing about the White Sox, by the way, 20 and 11, one of the best home records in all of baseball, and it's so cool to see fans going out to U.S. Cellular Field, where it's just been a ghost town over the last several years. David Ardsma is with us. We're going to do one more segment as SportsWrap goes inside baseball. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. Wednesdays, SportsWrap goes inside baseball with the one and only David Ardsma, a.k.a. Freddie Fact Checker, who just corrected me off the air, and I will correct myself now. It is Guaranteed Rate Field. It was U.S. Cellular in the past.
It was U.S. Cellular when I was there.
Oh, see? So a long time ago, in other words.
There were some fans. There were some fans in 07.
Were they there when Alex Rios hit a walk-off home run off you?
Everyone that was there, I heard them.
As soon as I was doing this, and I was like, "Oh God, I got to bring up my once-a-year reference to Alex Rios hitting a homer." For people who didn't see it, here it is. We'll just throw it in. We'll throw it in the overlay here. Here's Alex Rios walk-off home run off David Ardsman. He knew it the second he let it go out of his hand that it was gone.
Sometimes you just know.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just
know. There it is. Alex Rios walk-off home run. Off our good friend David Ards. Where is Alex Rios these days? He doing anything?
Probably
with his
watching
life?
that highlight.
It's his claim to fame, of course.
Right before he goes to bed, he's like, "Yes, those were the days." David. Thank you, David.
So neither U.S. Cellular or Guaranteed Rate are sponsors on the show, so I don't feel nearly as bad. So let's run through a couple of other things here besides the White Sox and sort of the dynamic there. Aaron Judge, 4 to 6 weeks. You know, a lot of people say the Yankees are better equipped this time around to get by without him than they were in previous years where they've lost him for a long time. You agree with that?
100%. I think they're a better team, more all-around team. I don't think they're a built on a couple guys right in the middle that are power, that are probably going to be hurt players. I think they're the more overall better just from top to bottom, all 26 players. Mm-hmm. So I like this team. I think they can survive where in the past, you just saw a hard drop off. I think this team will survive, will make it through. They made great moves in the last year and a half that finally are kind of cementing some of this stuff. I mean, at some point, they'll figure out that bullpen, please.
Yeah, good luck with that. Give me a thought on, we were talking about this on the show yesterday, Sam and I. The A's playing in Las Vegas. First Major League Baseball game in the history of Las Vegas. Winds up being maybe the most entertaining game in all of baseball this year. 15-14. And a lot of people forget, because it's Las Vegas, it's the desert. A lot of people don't know. It's 2,000 feet above sea level here in Las Vegas. It's not Coors Field where it's, 3,000, 600 feet or 4,000 feet above sea level. But there's still a sea level change. Obviously outdoors too with the heat, the ball's going to travel a little more. But even when they move indoors to the new stadium, David, what happens, as far as, do you want to be a pitcher in Las Vegas in a couple of years?
I want nothing to do with it. Absolutely. You think Coors Field was bad? This is way worse. Guys, I played here in AAA for years and years and years. Huge stadium, massive walls, and it was like a fireworks display every single night. Go look at AAA stats. Go look and see where Las Vegas stands historically year after year. And a lot of those years, until recently, it was always AAA balls, which were more dead and you couldn't get as much out of it. Those Major League balls are like hitting with a cheat code. It's incredible. There's a reason why it's 15-14. It'll be a lot. Guys will suffer. But again, you just have to change your mindset when you pitch there, pitch other places, kind of like Coors Field.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Tell me about pitching in Coors Field and the immediate things you notice, when you go from pitching a game in, say, Cincinnati to a game in Colorado.
You have to be okay with a home run. You have to be okay with giving up a run. You can't be on the same level. You have to lower your expectations of yourself. Sliders aren't going to move as much. Curveballs will definitely not move as much. Changeups, splits, those are definitely changeups are the pitch to play. Fastball, high spin rate fastballs, changeups, those work. Allow for pop-ups and allow to get guys out. If they go out, they go out. But it's a hard place to pitch, and your numbers are not going to be good. Just go pitch well on the road. Be the opposite of Seattle, right? They pitch so well at home, mediocre on the road. You have to do that.
The Tarek Skubal rehab.
This is insane.
Yeah, well, I'm dying to kind of get your take. What is the big takeaway from, them sort of cleaning out the elbow and him being able to come back this fast?
Just remember, the only thing that was stopping anybody from doing this in the past was the surgical equipment we used to use involved more invasive, right? So they had to get the chunk out. They had to cut through a little muscle. They had to get through stuff. So it would take 3 months. All they did was find a smaller tool to get in there and get more direct to the piece and get it out. So he didn't have to suffer what other pitchers have suffered. He didn't have Tommy John. He didn't have any replacement surgery, nothing like that. They just got a loose body, which means just a little piece of, hard bone basically out, or calcium out. And that makes him feel good. Everybody would be on the same page. It's just now we're seeing him against minor league hitters, which is ridiculous. 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, no, like know anything. 98 miles an hour on his rehab outing, which is insane. But again, he's the best pitcher in the world, and now we see why.
All right. Is he on that roster after the trade deadline? They're 27 and 39.
No. They went all in. I do think, though, I think the Tigers see this as still an opportunity because they still have probably the best roster. Maybe the Royals and them have the best rosters in all that Central.
And they're both 27 and 39.
Yeah.
But they both had injuries, too.
They're still in a place to win it, to take that division, which is the scary thing is like, again, the Guardians are leading the division with a -1 run differential. So they have to figure a few things out if they're going to. And if yes, I'm saying yes. I'm just sticking with it. Done.
You think he's there after the trade deadline?
I think he is.
It's okay.
Yes.
You'll have time to amend that next week or the week after. David Aardsma, always appreciate you, my friend. Great week, great times. Be well, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome back to the show. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. Say hello to Bill Bender. Friend of the program, Sporting News, does a great job on college sports, college football, college basketball. One of these days, I'd like to do an entire show with you, just to see how you do on the other sports.
That'd be fun. It'd be great to do an entire show with you anytime. Just let me know.
Because you seem like the type that could handle anything. Nobody knows everything about everything, but you'd be the closest to it, I think. So Bill Bender, Sporting News, hangs out with us on the show. All right, let's get the top line item out of the way right away here. Will Brendan Sorsby be the starting quarterback for Texas Tech come week 1 of the college football season?
I'm going to say yes. Wow. Well, he won't be because he's suspended, right, for the 2 games.
Okay, so 2 games.
I think he will play at some point, and I don't know what the compromise is going to be. And it's really unfortunate because those that are trying to lowball what he did and say, well, he only bet this X amount of money on, and he still did it. This is I've seen it referred to as the cardinal sin, Jason.
Yeah.
You don't gamble on your team if you're an athlete in that sport. You just don't do it. Pete Rose did it. Paul Hornung did it. There are others on that list, and it is all of those were met with a suspension of a year or more, or we know what happened to Pete Rose. So I'm not there. I don't think he should play.
Yeah, it seems kind of mind-boggling that we live in this era now where you could just basically go judge shopping and find the judge that's going to, one way or another, in this case, a Texas court where, they got a bunch of Texas Tech alums on the court. I mean, I don't know what the compromise could possibly be that shines a positive light on the NCAA. I don't see a compromise that is available here, an off-road for them, other than to hold the line. And if the courts want to make the mistake of allowing him to play, you let them make the mistake. But I don't know how the NCAA can jump in and say, all right, we're willing to accept this, and he can still play in 2026. I don't see it, Bill.
Yeah, there's no compromise. And then the Big 12 could step in here, and the ADs and the schools have a right to be furious and a right to say, but the thing is, as Brett McMurphy tweeted last night, they're not going to boycott the game because you're going to lose too much money. There's too much money involved in playing Texas Tech in that instance. And, you conveniently have a trial at the end of the season. I think the threat has to be, you can play them, but every game you win is subject to forfeit, which is going to be asked after every game. And are you willing to take that risk for the damage to your program? So, and I don't think Texas Tech cares because we clearly live in an environment where there are very few rules and there's even less enforcement.
Yeah, and what's interesting is even if you say forfeit the games, I mean, where it could impact them, I guess, would be bowl season, but would they miss out on a bowl game? But I don't think they'd have to forfeit the games until even after the bowl season. Like, I don't know if there is a punishment in the immediate that would impact Texas Tech enough for them to back off of this? You've heard this talk about teams taking them off the schedule, which I don't think is necessarily realistic. So how long does this take to play out? Do we go through the courts first? Like, what is the timetable for you that you're going to be watching next?
I mean, fall camp. If they don't have a something done and he starts practicing in fall camp, it'd be hard to pull him out at that point. So we're looking at the next month and a half. Do they come up with a resolution of sorts? Because the Big 12 will look like a joke. College football will look like a joke if he plays. And I'm not, again, for those understating it, and the empathetic side of me knows that Brendan Sorsby has been exposed to more gambling than any 18 to 22-year-old has with all the betting apps that we have. At the same time, they know the rules. I'm sorry, you have to draw a hard line. If he plays, it just opens up the door for point shaving and prop bets and trimming that and just the total integrity of the game in terms of, and I know how betting works too, and I know you do, that everything will be scrutinized as that happened because of the spread.
What is the long-term solution for the NCAA when it comes to things like this? Is there one, or is there always going to be the ability for these student athletes to be able to again, go judge shopping and find a solution that meets their needs?
Yeah, I mean, this has happened twice, and this one is way less palatable than Trinidad Chambliss was. I mean, we talked about that one earlier this year when he had granted a sixth year that was questionable, but we still get to watch Trinidad Chambliss play for another year. I don't know the answer other than they need to win this one. If they don't win this one, they're not going to win too many after that. And there'll be so many ways for athletes to play. I'd call it cheating, but I do worry about point shaving. Like I said, a kid dropping a pass because he had 80.5 yards on his prop. And just everything opens up to scrutiny. And we do it already. You know, how did they kick that field goal? How did Vegas know? But now there'll be some real-time consequences to it.
Yeah, and I mean, we just saw it even recently in college basketball, Bill. Another story came out about, guys shaving points, and it seems no matter what the deterrence is, there's always going to be something that kind of slips through the cracks here.
Well, yeah, like at the end of the Michigan-UConn game when Roddy Gale threw the ball down the court, there were some that were saying, like me, that's actually a high IQ play that runs time off the clock. Others said, this was against the spread. Michigan could have hit a few free throws. But everything and anything like that happens at the end of the game, the end of the third quarter, you're already seeing people examine Brendan Sorsby's performance against West Virginia last year to see if it was there. So, and that doesn't sound like fun to watch, by the way.
It does not. Bill Bender does a great job with the sporting news on college sports, college football, college basketball. I'm going to ask him a bonus question for our YouTube audience, so make sure to switch over there for the full conversation. Bill, appreciate you, my friend.
Hey, thank you.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the show, Kurt Heelan will be here. Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com to recap Game 4 of the NBA Finals. We'll get some thoughts with him, maybe some other surprises along the way. You'll want to tune in for that. Couple of reminders before we go. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the audio version of this show, available Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere you get a podcast. You can listen to us, crystal clear audio, largely commercial free, Monday through Friday, available early each afternoon. Make sure to go and subscribe today. Love all the new subscribers we're seeing for the podcast, all the new downloads. We also put bonus podcasts up there. When we have content that runs too long, it goes there as well. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place to find all Sports Wrap with Jason Page items. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show, available there, 45 minutes, commercial free. All the conversations, all the fun, all the frivolity, it is there. The big story, you name it. All there every afternoon on the YouTube channel. Also, Sports Wrap Originals are there. Sports Wrap Shorts are there. Extended Conversations are available there as well. Go and subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel today. I promise you will not be disappointed. In addition, we have launched the website, sportswrap.tv. SportsWrap.tv for those of you listening to the podcast. This has the link to the YouTube channel. The daily show is put up there. The podcast, the audio podcast is available there, so you can subscribe. The Substack newsletter, the Daily Wrap, you can find that there and subscribe to that. You could find your affiliate. Find out where, if no matter where you're living in the United States, anywhere within the 50 states, you can watch Sports Wrap Monday through Friday or the weekend edition of the show. Go there and find your affiliate on the Sports Wrap website. SportsWrap.tv is the address for that. And without any further delay on this Wednesday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Some notes from baseball. Boy, was it an exciting night around the big leagues. Brandon Montgomery, welcome to the big leagues. How about this? The 12th different player to make his debut with the Chicago White Sox. So if the playoffs started today, and I know there's like 100 games left in the regular season, they would be in the playoffs as a wild card team. So cool to see what's going on in Chicago. Braden Montgomery, sorry, I called him Brandon. Braden Montgomery, who we talked about briefly with our friend David Ardsma, hits a walk-off home run in his big league debut in the 10th inning as the White Sox beat the vaunted Braves 6-5. How awesome is that? What a way to come into the show. Braden Montgomery with the walk-off home run wins it. One of the very talented prospects with the White Sox. He had an RBI single earlier in the game, as we had referenced in our conversation with David Ardsma. But we were actually having that conversation as the game was going on. Little did we know that he would hit a walk-off home run to win it in the 10th inning for the White Sox, who continue to be a wild card team right now. We referenced yesterday on the show the 15-14 wild game between the A's and the Brewers. Well, they set the total at 12.5 last night in Vegas, and this is why Vegas makes a lot of money. The total was 12. 7-5, the A's beat the Brewers last night. Nick Kurtz just continues to hit home runs. It's like his 5th home run of the month. But at least it wasn't the gong show that we saw on Monday night between these two teams when they combined for 29 runs. But between the wind, the heat, the elevation, it's going to be fun to watch the remainder of the games that the A's have here in Las Vegas over the next few days. They're here, I believe, through the remainder of the week, if I'm not mistaken. So good win for the A's last night. They are 32-35, hanging around in the wild card race and certainly hanging around in what will be a wide open AL West. Yankees win last night for the second straight. Man, the Guardians, they don't want to see the Yankees. They don't want to see them in the playoffs. They don't want to see them during the regular season. The Guardians don't want to see the New York Yankees. It's like the Twins. Twins and the Guardians don't want to see the Yankees. Yankees beat the Guardians. The Yankees just beat up on the AL Central, if you think about it. I think they've beaten the Royals like 14 games in a row. Yankees beat the Guardians last night 3-2 in Cleveland after fans were chanting overrated about one Jazz Chisholm. What does he do? 8th inning, home run. Yanks win 3-2. Winds up being the difference maker in that game as the Yankees get the win. Spencer Jones, by the way, hit a home run in this game for the Yankees as well, as they hope to sort of get that prospect up and running while Aaron Judge is out of the lineup, hoping maybe he can help supply some of the power that will be lost with the loss of Aaron Judge for at least the next 4 to 6 weeks. Yankees get the win, and very quietly, 40-26, having a great season, battling the Rays atop that American League East. That is going to do it for us on this Wednesday edition of the show. Thank you to our friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Thank you, David Ardsma, who's traveling somewhere into the Midwest. I think he said he was going to Omaha, and he's not even going to watch the College World Series. Kind of weird. But thanks to all of you at home for watching as well. I'm Jason Page. We'll see you back here on Thursday for an all-new edition of Sports Wrap. Till then, bye-bye.